To be alive and feeling free, and to have everyone in our family to be alive in every way. Oh, how great it is to be alive. Every day there's a newness, something else to do. The dawn of life is upon us, so let the light spring through.
All right, this here's a CPR dummy. I don't know how many of you have taken a CPR class, but the idea of trying to give air to somebody who doesn't have it is one that blows my mind every single time I take a CPR class. Every time I take a CPR class, I'm being reminded by my instructor that I might literally be the only thing between this person living and this person dying. And whether or not I step in and do something is gonna dictate whether they live or they die. Now, I don't mean to be too heavy, but that's really heavy. That's really, really, really heavy. The idea that if somebody needs CPR out in the world, I'm now CPR trained. Obligation is a strong word, but yeah, I have an obligation now to help that person who needs CPR. And if I don't, they might die. Now, that is really heavy. The idea of being the vessel that keeps somebody alive. This weekend, we've been talking about a lot of different things. We've been talking about walking by faith. We've been talking about standing up for the hurting and to bring justice to the world. And one of the things that I want to talk about is life. There's this musical, I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's kind of an obscure one, and not everybody knows it, but it's one of my favorites, and it actually just recently in the last couple weeks dropped on Disney+. It's called Hamilton. A lot of things you could say about it, but I just want to talk about one thing that's really interesting in case you haven't heard it. There's this line by this guy named George Washington, who's like playing like the founding father, and he looks at the main character, Alexander Hamilton, and he says to him, "Dying is easy, young man. Living is harder." That's wild. Now, he's not the first person to say that. It's not the first time I've seen it in a movie or a musical, but that's a beautiful line, that dying is easier and living is harder. So what I want us to focus on, what I want us to talk about is, what are we living for? What is the thing that we're pushing ourselves to stay alive? I know when I first learned CPR, the thing they gave us to the rhythm was staying alive, ooh, 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 ooh. And it seems kind of cheesy and kind of silly, but that's what we're doing. We're trying to keep the person alive. And I think a lot about that line from Hamilton where it says, "Dying is easy, young man, living is harder." And I know I don't live in your shoes. I know that I am no longer a 12, 13, 14-year-old person. And the world is wild right now. The world was wild in the 90s when I was 13, 14, but the world is wild right now, and y'all are dealing with some stuff. And I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, and I don't want you to lie to me. There might be moments where you do think that dying would be easier than trying to live through this world. And that reality, I'm certain, breaks the hearts of the people that love you, and it breaks my heart. I don't even know you, many of you. But the fact of the matter is that living is hard. Living is hard. And one thing I want to tell you that we know, and this is the beautiful thing, God knew that living was hard. God knew that life was going to be hard. It's one of the reasons why God sent Jesus to us, because he knew that life was going to be hard. Jesus had to come and live life as a human to experience this hard life. Living is hard. I don't want to have to keep saying this over and over again, but it's okay to acknowledge that living is hard. But as we talked about earlier, we talked about growth and groove. When you grow through this hard life, you are growing, you are getting stronger, you are building. When you are walking by faith, you are growing, you are being alive. And that's what I want to impart on you, because there's most of you I won't see again for a whole nother year. It's Sunday night. This is it. This is the end of conference. And I really, really look forward to seeing all of you come back to conference next year. And you can come up to me and be like, hey, Rob, I actually watched your videos. And I will be as surprised as you are that you actually watched these videos. But hey, here we are. And so I want us to think about, for this next 358 days from Sunday night until next year's conference, what does it mean to be alive? What does your life look like when you are truly alive? My belief and my hope and my opinion is that when you are truly alive, you are loving other people. And that you are showing God's love to as many people as you can. You are showing that light, and you are being kind and beautiful and amazing and lovely. And you are bringing, what's the word I want to think? Life, honestly, that's the word I'm thinking. You are bringing life to those who are having a really hard time living. There's going to be moments in the next 358 days that you're having a hard time living. And when those moments come, reach out to the people who love you. Reach out to those people. Call me. Reach out. There's also going to be moments where people who you know and love are having a hard time living. And how are you going to be the life for them? What are you going to do to shine for them? What are you going to do to give them CPR? To give them those compressions, to check their airway and to check their breathing, and then to give them life. To give them life. I think about that all the time. I'm not only giving compressions, but I'm breathing into another person. I'm giving them the air that I have. I'm sharing my air. And I think about how we all share air all the time. Now, we are literally in the midst of a global pandemic called COVID-19 or coronavirus, whatever you want to call it. We're being told to wear masks because we know that we all share the same air. Like, that's a reality. There's little droplets everywhere. So we are sharing air. And some of us are having an easier time with that air. Some of us, the air is not choking us. Some of us, we're breathing freely. We're going on nice long jogs and smiling and having a good time. And some people are finding every single breath to be hard. And my challenge to you is look for those people. When you see somebody who's having a hard time breathing, and I mean figuratively or literally, someone that's having a hard time living or having a hard time breathing, give them some breath. Talk to them. Be there for them. Reach out to them. We talked earlier about Mr. Rogers saying, look for the helpers, and that I've challenged you to be one of the helpers. So that's it. Be one of the helpers. Go out and look for the people who need that extra breath. That's what it truly means to walk by faith. And I believe that very firmly. To truly walk by faith is to say that my faith in Jesus is how I'm walking. It's because of my faith in Jesus that I'm taking every step. And every step that I take is in pursuit of looking for other people who need that love of Jesus shown to them. And so that's what I'm doing when I walk by faith. So every step, I want you to think about that. Every breath that you take in should be more breath that you're giving out to others. So, I love you. 2020 conference is coming to an end. You're amazing. Thanks for joining us this weekend. And be that light, be that life, and be that breath.